What's up, everybody? I'm Sly, the movie guy. Here's where I rank all 11 2019 comic book films from the worst to the best. And by the end of this video, let me know in the comment section down below where you rank all 11 2019 comic book films from the worst to the best. If you've seen 11 or seen only like 4 or 5 comic book films that year, just let me know where you rank them from the worst to the best. And apologize for being so late on this video. Didn't have time last year because of work schedule and stuff. Family still got involved in so many movies, kept coming out and stuff, so didn't have time to do the ranking and stuff. But I'm finally now doing it. I'm happy of doing it because this is what I love. I love ranking comic book films and stuff. It's fun because I'm a comic book fan. I like to see comic films that really like give me like the surprises and a fun time in the movie theater. And I'm glad I'm gonna do it. And some of them just didn't give me the best time, but if some of them that you did enjoy, I'll be happy for you because we all have different opinions when it comes to comic films. Which ones give us the best experience? We all have where our number one that gives us the best experience, the one that we feel like is the best of the best, and that's what's the fun thing about it because all comic films are subjective. And with all that being said, let's just get started. The Kitchen. I think the casting is fantastic. I think these are talented actresses. I mean, Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, Elizabeth Moss, most definitely, since I've seen her in the film Invisible Man, which is really good. I recommend checking it out. The casting, I didn't mind. The story and the directing was just poorly done. I mean, the writing of the story just... The thing about the writing is I didn't really care for the characters' motivation. I didn't care what they were doing and stuff. I didn't really really cared about it because they really didn't like flesh it out. I know they were like trying to like run the streets of Harlem and stuff like that, but it just didn't work for me. Instead, they're trying to run the city where like one of the husbands like in jail and one of them was abusive and stuff. And some of those aspects could work in the film. Some of those aspects I was like, okay, this could work, but the execution of it just didn't work at all. And Elizabeth Moss is a very talented actress, but the film didn't give her much to do and stuff. It just didn't give us enough with her character. That goes with Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish. And this was just one of the most disappointing comic films and probably one of the worst ones I've ever seen. And it just didn't work. But hey, I love the concept, but it just didn't work. And another thing is this film's set in 1970s, so this should work, but I didn't get that 70s vibe like I seen like other movies pull off the 70s very well and stuff, but this film just didn't do it. It felt like certain things were so modern, and it just failed on so many levels. I really wasn't a big fan of this film, but hey, if you weren't a big fan of this film, I'm happy for you, but for me, it just didn't work. Hellboy 2019, the reboot. I was uneasy about this film. I mean, when I went to see a movie in the movie theater and I saw the trailer and preview of this film, I was like, I don't know. And then it was just, it felt very weird. And when I saw the design of like Hellboy and stuff that David Harbour's character was playing, I was like, okay, the Hellboy design looks good, so let me check this film out and give it a chance. And I went to a movie theater and it just didn't do it for me. The trailer and the film were just, none of those things didn't work. And the only positive I can say about this film is David Harbour as Hellboy. He was fantastic. He's a fantastic actor. Anyways, he's freaking amazing. Hellboy, I really felt like he was in the character, just like what Ron Perlman did in the Guillermo del Toro versions. And Ian McShane is great as Hellboy's father. I thought those things really worked. I really liked their relationship in the film. I really bought into it. I think every scene they had the back and forth dialogue and the relationship, I thought it really worked well. I thought their chemistry really absolutely was like a 2 thumbs up. Every minute that was on film, it got better. But the other stuff, when it came to the storyline and stuff, where the detective stuff and all that, it just doesn't work. For one, because they try to do so much explaining in a film and stuff, like say what happened here and what happens there. That's fine. I don't mind if comic films do that, but it did so much of that in this film where it could just been played out, because we'll figure stuff out as comic film. Just explain a little bit of snippet stuff and let it play all out. And that's what the film should have did, because all that explained stuff was real unnecessary. It makes it boring, because like, we can figure this out. We don't need to explain. We're not like we're were stupid like that. I mean, it did too much of that. And the special effects and CGI was so bad. And when it came to some of the action scenes, some of it was just so horrendous. It looked like PlayStation graphics, and it just doesn't look good. I mean, we've gotten better with CGI in movies in recent years, and it just looks horrible. I mean, it looks like Spawn CGI bad, the 1997 film. I mean, or any other comic film. It's like that bad. And I was just like, it made my eyes bleed. It was just so bad. The film was like over the top. The actors that played in the Resident Evil films, it just, I thought that could have been like the one of the redeeming qualities of the villain, but it just doesn't work. The villain was just so over the top. I couldn't take it serious. It just, I didn't know what was going on with this film. There was just a massive letdown, and I wish we have gotten the third installment with Guillermo del Toro's version. It would have been a lot better. From what I heard, that Guillermo del Toro couldn't get like the budget money to make the third installment, but I wish we have gotten it. It would have been a lot better than the reboot that we gotten. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if you like this film, fine, but for me, just wasn't my cup of tea. Polar. Now, this is a film I just watched recently on Netflix. I didn't know this was a comic film, but when I saw this on Netflix and stuff, and then heard on stuff online that this was a comic film that came out in 2019, I was like, okay, I'll check this out. And plus, it has Mads Mikkelsen in it, that one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. He was in Doctor Strange, which he was okay as a villain. And so I was like, okay, Mads Mikkelsen's in another comic movie. Wow, this should be great and stuff. This film is weird and didn't do it for me. For one, I think Mads Mikkelsen was fine in this film. He was about the only thing redeemable about it. But the thing that bothered me about this film is the way how the tone in this film. It just, part of it felt like what on the serious tone vibe with Mads Mikkelsen character, because he's the assassin character in this film. But when it came to like the villains and stuff, like the mob boss, it just felt goofy. So it felt like two different tones just didn't clash together. And I don't mind if you can have a fun and serious tone that in the film that can blend in perfectly, because we've seen comic films that can blend that in very well and stuff. We've seen that in the past recent years. But here it just doesn't work at all. It's just like when you're trying to watch a film, it felt like two different films. So I was trying to figure out what film I'm watching. It's like I'm watching a John Wick, Jason Bourne-esque film. Then I'm watching like a goofy comic book film, like a Batman or Robin type thing with blood and gore and stuff, which there's some blood and gore, but by that time with the goofiness, I couldn't take it serious, so it kind of bothered me a little bit. But I can see this being a guilty pleasure. Y'all might find some enjoyment, because there's some enjoyment I can see people having fun with this film, especially like the third act of the film, which the action is absolutely fantastic. When it comes to the action with Mads Mikkelsen character, oh, it gets down. I really enjoyed it. But by the time it got to the end, I just really never cared for what the story was going for and stuff. Because the way the tone was going, I didn't really care for the story, and it was just kind of, the story just was kind of uninteresting in the way the tones were going. And like I said, the films I couldn't take serious because the way it was going, it's just like, okay, I really can't. This is like a parody film. So that's it. I mean, y'all might find some enjoyment. And if y'all do, hey, I'm happy for you. This film is just kind of like so tonal all over the place, and I can't see myself rewatching this film again. Men in Black International. I'm a big Men in Black fan. I mean, I love the first one so much. I'm so much of a fan of the first one. Second one, the third one I really like with Josh Brolin and Will Smith chemistry. I thought they were good and stuff. It was like my highest anticipation comic film, and I was just so disappointed. I mean, Liam Neeson, great actor, Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, everybody involved with the film. I mean, these are talented A-list actors and actresses that was in this film, so that was like, okay, this should work. Then the director, F. Gary Gray. Do I need to say more? I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean, what happened to this film? I mean, This film was just so, I mean, it had a director and actors and actresses involved in it, and I don't know what happened. It was just, the story was so boring. The villains were forgettable. I mean, I can't even remember who the villains were, and that's strange. I mean, for me as a Man in Black fan, if you make villains forgettable, that hurts me to the core. I mean, at least the old Man in Black films had villains that you remember. I mean, I remember the villain from the first, second, and third film. Here, I just didn't remember. And it's part of that universe, and it bothered me so bad. I was just, oh, God. Every time I try to watch the movie, I was in the movie theater trying to keep my eyes open. There's each scene that was so boring. I was just trying to figure out, and we have Chris Hemsworth. He's funny. So why this movie didn't work? And we had Tessa Thompson, and she has personality. Liam Neeson. How? I mean, and then F. Gary Gray that directed the films I just showed. What happened here? It just don't make sense. I mean, well, what I heard, there was studio interference and stuff. Stuff you gotta leave out the door, leave your ego out the door and stuff, and give us a good film. Cause we're fans. I mean, we're fans of this source material, and it just didn't work. This film, I can't see myself watching it. I'll watch this like around December to see can I enjoy it, and it just didn't work. The Dark Phoenix. Now, this is weird. I don't think this is the overall like the worst comic film that some people make it out to be. Is it a very good comic film? No, it has its problems. One of the problems is the story. That's one of the main problems with this movie. I had a problem with the first, second, and third act. It felt like the way the movie was structured with the story. It just felt like 3 different acts was like kind of a different movie, and that's very rare. I mean, we've seen good X-Men movies with a good and second, third act that flows very well. This film just felt like very chopped up, like the writers didn't figure out what they were trying to do, and it was kind of hard to structure the story where it was going, especially this is the second time we're doing a Dark Phoenix storyline. I don't know how they could have messed that up. That just don't make sense. Like, it is very simple. I mean, we've seen the mistakes out of the X-Men Last Stand, which is a film. I was like, I don't know what happened, and this was like you could see the mistakes out of that film, so it was like you could have studied that and just like, okay, I know which worked and what didn't work. So this should be like a fresh, like, we should figure this out, but it just didn't work at all. And having a director Simon Kinberg, which I think was kind of a big mistake because there was a big project. This first time I think during a directorial debut with this film, he should have started with a small film and then probably took the time and then to do a bigger film, and then have somebody like Matthew Vaughn. You can have Simon Kinberg produce this film, but have somebody that done an X-Men film, a big project like Matthew Vaughn that did X-Men First Class, which is a fantastic movie. I recommend you checking that out. Should have had him direct this film, because it would have probably been a lot better directed. He probably had a better understanding because he directed one of these characters like the Young Professor X and Young Magneto. So it would have worked if Matthew Vaughn directed this film. And that's one of the things I was disappointed of. But I say the biggest positive is the acting. The acting by like the actress that played Dark Phoenix. I thought she did a fantastic job. I think she's Sophia Turner. She does fantastic. She did better a lot than X-Men Apocalypse. I thought her performance was great. James McAvoy as Professor X was great. Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Everybody's performance was great. Like I said again, the storyline just didn't work. And that's one of my main problems with the X story is the storyline. If the storyline was good as well as the acting, I would have gave this film a high grade, but it just didn't work. And Jessica Chastain as the villain, it didn't have to be in there, but I felt like since the way the story was structured and stuff, you had no choice but to have her in there, because if you take her out, it wouldn't work. But her character just didn't have to be in there at all, and that was just like just a throwaway. And I was like, Jessica Chastain is a good actress, so why this didn't work as a villain, I don't know. I just wish this film was good. It had potential, but it just failed, and I'm just gonna leave it as that. Captain Marvel. I know there's like massive fans of this film, and I'm happy for you, but for me, this was one of my least favorite film out of the MCU. I'll get to my negative. One of the positives I can say is Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, and Samuel Jackson's young Nick Fury. Absolutely, I love their chemistry. I thought that worked in the film. I thought it was absolutely perfect. I thought they did fantastic. Each scene with them, I really enjoyed and stuff. I thought those were the best aspects in the film and stuff. When it comes to like the story and the villain, that part didn't work for me. I thought this film was like bland a little bit, and that's very strange because usually each Marvel film has their unique style and flavor to it. Like we seen like with Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok, and with the Russo brothers with the Spice United, the Captain America Winter Soldier, Joss Whedon's Avengers first film and stuff. I mean, we seen good like comic films with in the MCU with that unique style. Ron Coogler, Black Panther. It just, I couldn't find like a good style out of this movie, and that was really was the biggest disappointment with me watching Captain Marvel. And some of the action scenes, some of it was good, but overall, some of them just didn't give me that goosebumps while I've seen good action scenes like we seen in the MCU, like Captain America Civil War and stuff, Winter Soldier, or the Avengers film. I just didn't get that good action scenes that was just like, that give me that goosebump stuff. And this is my opinion. I just didn't get that. When I watched Captain Marvel, and my expectations were low because the trailers was good. They were okay, but it just didn't like, So I said, let me go and move theater. And I enjoyed the film. I don't think this is a bad film, but overall, as a comic film, it didn't just make me like say, woo, this is my favorite comic film of all time. It just didn't work for me. I like Ben Mendelsohn as a Skrull. I just thought they could have dwelled on him a little bit more, did more like make them like the villain, since that they weren't the villain in the movie. It was the other villain lady in the film. So some of the stuff worked, some of the stuff didn't work in Captain Marvel for me. But hey, I don't think it's a bad film, but it's not like my high favorite comic film all the time. But hey, I don't think it's a bad movie, and I recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it yet. Shazam. Wow, this film was surprisingly good. And when I saw the trailers, I was like, I don't know, is it going to be good or not? Because this was like going to be like one of the DCU films that was just going to be completely like fluffy, fun, all those aspects, very light. So, and because the DCU films was like kind of like dark and stuff, the other one like Man of Steel and all that stuff, but this was like going light, so I didn't know what to expect from the film. But leaving out the movie theater, I was just so blown away. It was like, wow, this film was really good. Everything worked in this film, the acting and stuff, especially with Zachary Levi and Shazam, really worked well. The kid actors was fantastic. Everything about this film worked. This film had a lot of heart, had good things of scenes that hit you hard and stuff. When it wasn't fun and all that stuff, when it got down to like serious moments, it really worked well. Did both those things, when the serious and the fun stuff, really blended in well. It really blew me away. I didn't know how that was going to go. I was like, wow, they absolutely hit the right notes on that. So I thought all those things worked. The film was just fun. It was like one of the DCU films. I actually had fun, and I just recently watched this recently this year, and it just still fun. It's one of the DCU films I think the whole family, everybody can enjoy. Everything was so good about it. The only flaw I do have with the film is that the villain, Mark Strong here. I think Mark Strong does fantastic as the villain here. It just, some of his backstory and stuff was good. It just, overall, the villain, the way it was utilized in the film was just underwhelming a little bit. Kind of like what we see in superhero film now, the weak villain stuff. And Mark Strong's a good actor. I think he does fine here. Just, they could have did more with his character. And if they did that, I would have put this film higher on my list and stuff. But since he was kind of the little bit the weak link here, Shazam stands where it's at on my ranking. But that's fine, because I can watch this film over and over again, because it's still a fun, fantastic film, and I would highly recommend all family and friends to watch this if you haven't seen it yet. Alita Battle Angels. Now, I've heard this was like a manga comic book as like last year, 2019, as it was going on, as I was telling people how good the film is, and people said some people online said it was a manga comic book thing, like I think an anime thing. I never heard of the comic book and stuff. But besides that, I really enjoyed this movie. I remember this came out in February, I think in the mid-February last year, 2019. It was absolutely fantastic, surprisingly good, man. I didn't expect this. I mean, usually some robot movies don't do well, so I didn't know when I saw the trailer, like, I'll check this out. But then when they said that James Cameron produced, I was like, okay, this might be good. I checked it out. It was really good. I mean, I really liked the character Alita. I thought they did good with her backstory and stuff. Her chemistry with Christoph Waltz was fantastic and stuff. We really like understood the character. I thought they did a fantastic job of fleshing out her character. They did a very good character study of her character. I thought they did fantastic. The action scenes were really good. I mean, there was like some of the action scenes was just mind blowing in this film. I was just like, whoa, this is really good. So this film like has some heart here, and I thought the acting was good by Rosa Salazar. If I said her name incorrectly, but she does fantastic as Alita. Christoph Waltz, what more can I say? He's a fantastic actor. Everything in that film worked, except like again when it comes to Shazam, the villains were underwhelming. And we have Mahershala Ali that was the villain, and he's a great actor. I've seen this guy on Luke Cage and Green Book. This is a fantastic actor. I mean, and then in the other films he played in. So, and I can't wait to see him in the Blade in the MCU film. So I can't wait to see him play Blade in the new phase of the MCU. So at Blade, so I'm really looking forward to that. But he's a great actor. His villain just could have worked in this film, but it just didn't work. And then the side characters that Alita was meeting with, they could have fleshed those out. And I thought those aspects was the kind of the flaw of the film. But everything else really worked fine in this film, and I highly recommend this film if you haven't seen it yet. Spider-Man Far From Home at number 3. I love this film. I know some people love Homecoming more than Spider-Man Far From Home, and that's why both of them are great films, but to me, Spider-Man Far From Home is a far better film than Homecoming. But tad bit market, I like Homecoming, but Far From Home is right here. I think they did enough to make me enjoy this as Spider-Man film. I had a blast. My expectations was very, very low. This was one of the comic films that was low on my expectations. I did not expect this to be good because the way the trailers were playing out with Mysterio and Spider-Man buddies and stuff, I was like, are they gonna go that route? I hope not, please. And they didn't. The way Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio towards the middle of the film, oh my God, this is gonna contain spoilers, but the way he flips it on Spider-Man stuff where he was real like the bad guy stuff, which I knew Mysterio was a bad guy because he's in the comics. He's one of my favorite villains anyway, so he had to be a bad guy. But the way they did this film, I was like, oh, I love this. And the way they utilized Mysterio was just coming off the pages of the comic books, his illusions and stuff, and I loved it, man. It was so good. The Spider-Man swinging action scene in the last act of the movie, was so jaw-dropping. I mean, the best Spider-Man swinging scenes I've seen on the big screen and stuff. I mean, the swinging Spider-Man scenes were good in the other Spider-Man films, but here it was just so mind-blowing, especially that slow motion part over the bridge scene. Ooh, it was that was like the geek out moment. I loved it, every minute of it. It was so good. And there's a spoiler. I say mute this part. If you see him, don't mute it. Showing the ending of J.K. Simmons coming back as Jameson. Oh, one of my favorite castings of all time as Jameson. J.K. Simmons, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I was crazy. I was about to lose it. I was surprised. I was like, I was like, I couldn't believe it. They had him in there. It worked. And the movie was fun. Everything about it. It was a Spider-Man film I loved, and it's one of my favorite Spider-Man films. It's one I highly, highly recommend. If you haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home, please check this out. It's worth the watch. Joker. Man. And that's why y'all probably thought I was going to have this at number 1. But it was really hard between Joker and the other film. But I really love the Joker. I watched this just recently. It's really good. Glad Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor in the Oscars for that award and stuff. I'm glad he won the award for it. Because his performance as Joker absolutely was good. I mean, man, the best acting as a Joker since Heath Ledger of The Dark Knight. His acting was so good. And what I like about it is we get a really good character study of the Joker without having Batman involved where we get just Joker movie, and it really worked well. We actually, it was like a movie where I really care for the Joker, and that's kind of weird. I never thought I would like care for the Joker as like the film with the stuff was happening to him. He was getting picked on and stuff like that, side of the street and stuff, and trying to be a comedian. People were like picking on him and stuff. Robert De Niro character was picking on him. I actually related to the Joker, but then as the film's going on, as him going psychotic crazy, it was kind of scary. And as he was trying to control his laugh, like it really worked. I was really kind of like scared, like what I'll care for Joker, but I was scared, like as he was becoming psychotic and stuff, and it was like, oh, I didn't know what to expect, and it was just so good. Everything was good about the Joker, the character study, or what he thinks and how he feels about society and stuff. It was just everything was good. The performance in this movie, wow, absolutely was spectacular from start to finish. Man, Todd Phillips did a fantastic job with this film. Absolutely everything checks the marks for the Joker, man. Everything was so good about the film. This film I highly recommend. This is a good film. Now, it does borrow some of the tropes of Martin Scorsese films like Taxi Driver and Kings of Comedy. As the more I watch it, I've like actually realized this captures like Taxi Driver and Kings of Comedy, but that's fine because this film really worked as Joker's standalone film, and I really, really, really can't wait when they do the sequel. Man, this film just hits the mark, hits the right notes, everything about it. Joker is a fantastic film. I highly recommend it. Avengers Endgame. Woo! Do I need to say more about this film? I mean, it's number one on my list for a reason. I mean, the directing, the writing, the acting, the action in this movie, everything just was good on so many levels. Amazing, phenomenal. Anything that's good about Avengers Endgame, it just was so good. My expectation, it succeeded on that. Everything, it checks the marks. Everything about this film is great. I mean, all my expectations were like high about this film, but it was just, I was scared because I didn't know if it was going to be good or not. I was like, I don't know. I was just getting nervous because this was like after Infinity War was so good, it was just like, I don't know if Endgame just be bad. This would be a very big disappointment for me as a comic fan. But leaving out the movie theater, it didn't leave me disappointed. I was just so happy and surprised how good it was. I mean, there was a tough task for the Russo brothers. I mean, after a cliffhanger in Infinity War, which I figured out how they're going to bring people back and stuff, after the Thanos snap, it was like, what's going to happen? So it was a lot of like theories and speculations going into this movie. We didn't know what was going to happen. And there's a lot of surprises here, man. And those surprises absolutely worked well. Everything worked. The time traveling thing worked. And in the beginning, when I watched the film, first time I had fun with it, but the time traveling part, I was like, no. I was kind of like uneasy when I left out movie there, but I still had a great time. But that time travel, I was like, I don't know. But then after like multiple viewings it on DVD, I love the time traveling stuff. It really was interesting looking at the different like Avengers team and characters going to like the events of Avengers in 2012, then Thor: The Dark World, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 2014. All that was really good and stuff. Ant-Man was great. Paul Rudd, Captain America, Chris Evans, all that. Chris Hemsworth, the Thor, the Fat Thor, which I love. I know some people didn't like the Fat Thor, but hey, it worked for me. I thought it was funny and cool and stuff, and everything in this film worked. Robert Downey Jr. performance as Iron Man was great. Everybody's performance, like I said, with the acting is great in this film, and the Russo brothers directing was good, and the writers of the film, I can't remember their names, but they did a fantastic job putting the piece together, writing the script out and stuff. They did fantastic. 2 thumbs up for them. Everything about it. And the action scenes with the Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor in the finale fighting Thanos, the past Thanos and stuff was really good and stuff. You cannot live with your own failure. What did that bring you? Back to me. Josh Brolin as Thanos, one of the best villains in the MCU. Him as Thanos, he just owns the role. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame, he was just so good as this character. Man, every time he speaks, it just gives me goosebump chills. I was like, oh, yes. it gets better every time I view it with him and Thanos. It was just so good. The battle scenes and stuff. Captain America grabbing Thor's hammer. We seen that in Avengers Age of Ultron. You remember that part where he shot a lift Thor hammer? We see him lift a little bit and Thor was like, it was like that. It was just so funny. And then in the film, when I saw that hammer, I was like a little bit saying, okay, I might know who's getting it, but the way they did it surprised me. And Captain America, I was like, oh, it acted like a fool. I was like, oh shoot, I was about to lose it. It gets better when I view it again, and I've seen it move there, but when I see that scene again, I was like, I still geek out about that moment because I'm like, oh my god, because he looked at it in the comic book, so I was like, oh god, I just was acting crazy. It just was so good. And it was just, everything was good. The scene where everybody in the portals was coming out, where Falcon said, Cap on your left, with Captain America pull that shield. I love that scene. When Captain America just pulled that shield with all the Thanos, all the people's coming out. Captain America with a broken down shield. He was just the one guy who was like this. I loved it. Oh, it was so good. There were so many good moments. Some of you might call fan service, but hey, the fan service stuff worked in this film on so many levels. I loved it. And a part where dun 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 dun, where Captain America said, Avengers, dun 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 dun, assemble. Oh, that was good. I loved it. And the scene that got me a little teared up, man. If you haven't seen Endgame, please put on mute. Like again, what I said in the other part of the ranking, put on mute. The part where Thanos was saying, I am inevitable, and then snap fingers, didn't get it, and Iron Man had all them things on his hands, and I am Iron Man. That when you saw that scene, you just knew, okay, because Dr. Strange said we only have one, and Iron Man was the guy that had to make the sacrifice, and that sacrifice he died, and that really got me teared up. I was in a mood. I left out the move there. I was happy, but that part in the end gets me every time. Every time I watch the movie, I have fun. But in the end, it was like, man, why? It was that and Iron Man dying was just, it reminded me like when Logan died in the movie Logan, Wolverine died in it. It just reminded me of that. I was just like, all these comic book characters I love, they die, and it just got me. Man, and seeing Spiderman, seeing Tony Stark and stuff, seeing him about to die, it just, that was too much. It was good. Professor Hulk worked. Everything I said in this film worked. I'm not gonna say much because I already said enough about Avengers Endgame. It's no more on my list. And if you haven't seen Endgame yet, I highly recommend you watching it. This is one of the best comic books experience I had in my life. I had a lot of great comic experience with other comic films, but this one was just so good in my eyes. I loved every minute of this film. It's one of my favorite comic films. I love it to death. Absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Like I said, everything else worked in this film. If you didn't like it, I don't know what to say. I guess can't see anybody hating this film, but if you do, I don't know why. It's a good film, and I'm just going to leave it as that. Let me know in the comment section, like I said in the beginning of the video, let me know in the comment section down below where you rank all 11 2019 comic films from the worst to best. Let me know. Like I said, the final four, if you want to watch a couple comic films, put them down on the list. Or if you want to add the animation comic films in there, go ahead. That came out in 2019, the year of 2019. Please put them down there in the comment section down below. Let me know. And that's pretty much it. And as always, if you like this video, click thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, click subscribe and the bell button. That's why I can see you next time on Slide the Movie Guy. Peace.